Y'all dealing with the king. If you wanna come and get it, let the outlaw get you out your seats. You want sports talk, politics? He don't give a shit. Rocha says speak, follow it. About to issue y'all a masterclass. You wanna pass? Gunslinging the new podcast, the candy ass. Grab a top bench, get information. It's your boy John Rocha. Welcome to the Outlaw Nation.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest episode of the Outlaw Nation podcast. This is John Rocha, a.k.a. The Outlaw, and I'm coming to you live on a beautiful morning here in L.A., taking some time to record the podcast. Some of you know my life has just been so crazy. It's been so busy over the last few weeks. I even got a text this morning from a good friend of mine, Mark Donica, who said, you know, it's great to see all the things that are happening for you, because I remember about a year and a half ago or a year ago when you were really frustrated on Jedi Alliance and some stuff wasn't going or in motion. And the truth is, you got to hustle, man. You got to push. You got to fight. You got to put yourself in the arena, and you've got to be willing to take the hits and take the chances and kind of analyze the situation and figure out where you fit best, you know. And sometimes it's patience. Even though it hurts, even though it bothers you, even though it can get to you, that you have to wait around. Sometimes it's just patience, and sometimes it's just like Tim Robbins in the Shawshank Redemption. You just have to kind of take a little bit of rock out into the yard, drop it out, scoop throughout the day, come back out, walk through the yard, drop the rock. Sometimes that's what it takes to be able to finally get out of a situation or get to a place that you want to be at. So it's just how it is. It's just how it is. But how are you? How's your life? What's going on with you guys? Like, and ladies, what's going on in your world? What are you accomplishing things? Are you frustrated? Are you struggling? Are you trying to put things in motion? Are you taking the time to take care of yourself? You know, that's really important. That's one of the things that my friend Amber, she posted something on Facebook the other day, got me thinking, and she said, it was a really funny little comment. It said, all right, I want you to write down in order the 1,000 people that you care about the most. And there was like a long, there's like 30 dots or whatever, and then it says in capital letters, how long did it take you to get to yourself? And that was huge. That's like a mind bomb, you know. It was like, whoa, right, of course. I got to love myself too. I got to care about myself too. And sometimes we think we have to give so much to other people to make them happy or to make your world function correctly. But the truth is, you can't give the best of yourself if you don't take care of yourself, because when you show up and you're only 60% there or 70% there because you've been doing so much for everyone else that you haven't taken the time to focus on yourself, then nobody wins. Everybody loses in that situation. So it's really important and to I don't want to say be selfish, not in a negative way, but I think it's important to worry about what you need so that you can function at optimal capacity to be able to do things in your life and for other people in their lives. So just really important. So for me, sleep has become that. Eating well is to a degree is part of it as well, and I'm not always doing the best of that, but sleep is super important for me at this time. You know, it's like 5 or 6 hours is all I need, and I can function the rest of the day. Because my days have been super busy. That's why I'm recording this in the morning, like at 6:30 in the morning, because it's just been such a crazy bunch of days and crazy bunch of things going on in my life. And for those of you who know, last night we made a massive announcement on the Schmoedown live show. Matt Nose joined me on the show. We talked a little bit about the Schmo-down stuff, the Horseman stuff, which I'll get to a little bit later. But Matt and I made the huge announcement that we are bringing back the Top 10 show. In a world crying out for a Top 10 show, we are back. Matt and I, we've been negotiating with Christian for quite some time, kind of looking at other opportunities to exploring stuff. And I think Matt and I needed a bit of a break because we were doing so much with the Top 10 show. Just the show itself, the reviews, Thunderdome, and then our appearances on the Top 10, on the Schmo-down competitions. All of it was just kind of getting to us, and we needed a little bit of a break. And so now we kind of have missed the show a lot. We've missed the fans a lot. And so it just was, the negotiations really kind of increased over the last few weeks, and before it had been like months of talking about it. And you know, we talk about it for a month, and then like wouldn't talk about it again for 2 or 3 weeks, or Christian would mention it and we'd consider it, and then other things would come up. So I think things happen at certain times for a reason. The right time is now. Matt and I are like super excited to come back. We lost the belts. We got embarrassed by the Patriots, but that's my fault. Matt did a great job. And I think it just kind of motivated. It was the final motivation for us to bring the show back, because when we were talking movies, we were unstoppable. And so I think that's going to be essential for us to come back as a team, to come back as the top 10 that you remember and you know and love and cheered for as underdogs in the Schmo-down tournaments. So that's going to be fun. The first step, we're going to be on the SK Plus podcast channel, which is this podcast channel that you're listening to now, the Schmoes Know Plus podcast channel. It's free. Some people are asking, do you have to pay for this channel? I imagine if you're listening to it, you know it's free. But I guess other people need to be told that it's free because we're not Screen Junkies Plus. So Schmoes Know Plus podcast channel, subscribe to it. There's a lot of great shows on here, too. Obviously, besides my show, Outlaw Nation, there's The Wanger Show, Don't Be a Beardo, After Schmoedown Rundown, or the Schmoedown Rundown, rather, and the After Schmoes Show. There's so many great shows. So subscribe, post comments, put ratings on there. All of us really appreciate it when people cross over and listen to our shows. It's really important. It helps us keep doing the show, knowing there's love out there for us to do it. So, because sometimes, and this is the truth, I say this is the Outlaw, but I think all of us feel this way. Like, we wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the fans, and we wouldn't be motivated to do it if it wasn't for the fans, so it really matters. So anyway, our first episode is going to drop on Tuesday, which is next week, the week of Comic-Con. We're going to drop our first episode Tuesday on the SK Plus podcast channel. Matt and I are going to record it this weekend, but we want your help. And that is, go to Twitter and find Matt Nost's Twitter. I think it's at Matt Nost and or at Matthew Nost. It's one of those two. Look it up, and there's a Twitter poll on there. Or if you want to go to the Schmoedown Facebook page, the Schmoville Facebook page, and the Movie Trivia Schmoedown Facebook page, we posted the top four topics that we think would be fun to do as a comeback, as a first episode coming back, and we want you guys to vote on it. And whatever topic gets the highest number of votes is the one we're going to talk about. So we want to do something for the fans. Like, I kind of mentioned this to Matt, and Matt was like totally on board. I just said it would be great if the fans voted for our first topic back, since the fans were the ones that really kind of kept the top 10 show alive. Even while we were on this massive break, you guys were commenting on YouTube shows. You guys were tweeting at people. Some people didn't like that. Some people got upset about the frequency of it. Somebody who's no longer with Collider was really upset about it, I heard. So I just really appreciate all of you. I want to say it me personally, and I think I speak for Matt and I when I say I really appreciate you guys and the love you guys had for the top 10 show, and the fact that you all still go back and listen to the old episodes means so much to us. And we did make the announcement about the older podcast episodes. Those things are going to be kind of a legend, like to make it like Star Wars. They're going to be like Legends episodes. We're going to redo all the topics, and because we've had some time away, and the last time we talked about some of those topics have been like a year and a half or 2 years. So opinions change, new films come out, things of that nature. So we're starting all over again, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. And those old episodes are going to be put outside. This is going to be canon, what we're going to do. And I think the old episodes, I think we might release them in a certain way, and I'm not sure yet. Matt and I are still debating how we're going to do that, but I think we might release them in a certain way, and y'all can kind of download them if you want to download them and listen to them. But we're going to give you fresh new content starting next Tuesday, so look for that on the SK Plus podcast channel. I want to thank you guys so much for the love, and already the love. I mean, I've got so many tweets from last night about the show coming back, and so many great words and so many awesome words of support and love and everything like that. So I just want to thank you guys so much again for being such fans of the Top 10 show, and we can't wait to come back, because Matt and I are just we're different. We've grown a lot since we started the show, so obviously we have a different rapport. And you guys have heard him on the Outlaw Nation podcast a couple times. He's been great. I think I'm going to try to get him back for next week, and we're going to do an all NBA episode next week, I think, for the most part. I mean, we'll talk about other things, but it's going to be a really NBA heavy episode, because we're going to talk about free agency and what happened with all the switches. Now that everyone has landed where they landed, Matt and I are going to go over it and everything like that. So all right, so like I said, it's been a crazy busy time in my life, and this is adding another show on top of it. There's another thing I've been working on that I hope comes to fruition, and if it comes to fruition, it'll be such a great project to be a part of, and I can't talk about it now, and I can't announce it now because I don't want to jinx it, and I hope, I'm knocking on wood there, I hope it happens, and because it just would bring a lot of stability to my life, which would be awesome. So we'll see what happens with that. Just a typical example of my day. Like yesterday, I worked at Universal starting at 8 a.m. all day. then went to record an episode of the Cinephiles. Then I went to the Schmo's No Show. We did that. Then we recorded some stuff for the 30 for 30 that people have been asking about. Cobster and I, we did some recording. Then Matt recorded some stuff for that. So that's my life. And then I got home, passed out, woke up this morning. I'm recording the top 10. I'm recording the Outlaw Nation podcast. So this is my life. This is my life, constantly working. And today I've got to record another episode of the Cinephiles. Then I go straight to work all day. And then I think I'm going to try to catch War for the Planet of the Apes with my friends tonight if I get out in time from work. So we'll see how that go. So if you're following along with me, you know I'm on Movie Talks at 10 a.m. on Friday, you know, and I was on a lot recently, so that was a fun little week to be on so much. I love being on Movie Talk, and if you guys want to see me on Movie Talk, tweet them at Collider. You know, let them know that there's a huge fan base for people who want to see me on Movie Talk more consistently. So please tweet at Collider, at Think Hero, at Christian Harloff. Let them know that you want to see the Rocha says or see me on Movie Talk more. So that's I'm doing that. I've got the Outlaw Nation podcast now, the Cinephiles, now the Top 10 show. I was just on TV Fights. I don't know if you saw this, but I was on TV Fights with Roxy. She was very gracious to ask me to come back on. Billy Patterson, who's the producer there, he asked me to come back on as well. And it was so much fun. I got to fight two friends, Jay Washington, who I love to pieces, and Kaori Takei, who I love to pieces. And if you're not following Kaori, follow her at Kaorious. I think that's right, Corius. And obviously Jay Washington, Mr. Jay Washington, follow him on Twitter and on Instagram. He's been a guest on the show as well. So it was so much fun. That was awesome, TV Fights. I haven't been in a long time. And I was 1-1, you know, because I think I'd lost to Hector once and I'd beaten Hector once. So it was fun to come back on there and kind of win. And it was more relaxed. I'm telling you, I'm just in a new place. And I'm just like enjoying these battles. I'm enjoying the fights. You know, I think the Scott Mance fight between me and him really changed my approach to movie fights. You know, sometimes you have to do something for a long time and then it just clicks. And so it clicked for me. And so I was able to go into the TV fights and kind of do my thing and have a lot of fun and you know, compete with Jay and compete with Corey and, you know, hang out with Roxy. And it was so much fun. And you know, it was great. And I made some comment about, we were asked a question about Big Bird. And like, well, they were asked a question about what TV character would you want to cheer you up the most if you were down? And I said Big Bird, and it was like really funny to be able to argue Big Bird. So it was great. So there was a lot, and I ended up winning, which was so much fun to win, and then just kind of, you know, it was just fun to be there. So win or lose, it was just fun to be there. So if you guys want to watch it, I think you can go to their YouTube page, the Screen Junkies YouTube page, and you can watch the TV Fights episode there and see if you agree that I should have won. So there you go. Because sometimes people, when I lose, think I should have won. So maybe I should have lost if I won. So we'll see. So go take a watch and see what you think. All right, I'm going to take a drink. I know people get upset when I make these large drinks, but I got to take a drink. All right. So the big news of the week besides the Top 10 show is, of course, what happened on the Schmo-down. Some of you all were there, or some of y'all watched the special and saw what happened with Bibiani, you know, leaving to go with Ricky. And Robert Meyer Burnett really surprising us and leaving us to go join the Lion's Den, or the Cubs Den, as I like to call them, or the Crying Den, which I really love now that it's being called the Crying Den, because that's all they do. Yeah, so, you know, when Matt and I put this thing together a while back, the Top 10 show, when we became a team, the Team Top 10, you know, we just wanted to win. We wanted to prove that we belonged. That's what it was. It wasn't about winning the titles. It was about proving that we belonged. And then eventually became about winning the titles. And so once we became this thing, and then Collision happened, or the Spectacular happened, Schmoedown Spectacular happened, and we decided to like accrue people and become a faction. Because I thought, well, a faction, I mean, hasn't been done yet in the Schmoedown. We need a faction. What better faction than the Four Horsemen, who are the greatest faction ever, only because of consistency. Look, I love the NWO. I will be NWO for life, the original NWO for life. But you can't deny the Four Horsemen are the pinnacle of factions in wrestling. And so it seemed to make sense to try and create the Four Horsemen. We recruited Bibiani after his victory over Andreyko. Why not? He seemed like a really intelligent guy who knew a lot about films. and would answer. And he blew the game up with that match with Andreyko. And then we got Robert Meyer Burnett, the captain, because he'd won the Inner Geekdom Championship. So we were tag team championships. We needed to accrue another champion. We got him. And unfortunately, things didn't quite work out. Robert lost a couple of matches. Bibiani lost a couple of matches. And, of course, Matt and I lost the belts. So being on the Four Horsemen was not always the easiest situation, and we were all trying to kind of figure things out and put it together. Unfortunately, Bibbs lost a couple of matches that I thought he had in the bag both times. And so somehow these things kind of happened, and Robert lost. So, listen, they ended up blaming me and Matt, thinking that we got bad mojo for whatever reason, or they can't win when they're with us, and that's their prerogative, and they left. Does it suck? Yeah, it sucks, especially because Bibiani's going to run off with Ricky and doing his stuff, and Ricky with all his, they didn't appreciate him, which is complete bullshit, because all we did was talk about how great Bibiani was. The thing is, Bibiani thought, and this is the thing with having Bibiani in your stable, he thinks he's better than everyone else. He thinks he's smarter than everyone else on movie trivia. But you got to prove it. When you step up to the stage, you got to prove it. And if you don't win, you're not proving it, are you? So I've won belts. I've won tag team championships. I've won singles championships. So for me, I've proven my knowledge. Win or lose, I've already proven it. I've worked my way to a title. I didn't do a Money in the Bank thing like Sam Levine and kind of jump rankings to get a title shot. No, I earned my shot. When I got it, I won it. Both times. And that matters. So, Bibiani sometimes will sit on the sidelines and he'll scoff at the questions and he'll joke about the questions. How easy. Oh, come on. They're so easy. Then he gets in there and he loses it to Harloff and he loses it to JTE. So what can I tell you? And Robert Meyer Burnett, he's in and out. We've dealt with his constant disappearances, constant busy life that he can't show up all the time to support us. I thought we were patient with him. I thought we were great with him. I thought we did our best to kind of be like, no, just show up when you can. And when you're here, we'll definitely support you. Like, I've made efforts. I've rearranged work schedules. I've done all things possible to be there for all the horsemen, to support them in their matches. I've done everything possible, and still it wasn't enough. I've been encouraging. I was supportive. I defended them. I did everything possible to show them that they were a very essential part of our stable. And it still wasn't enough. So for some people, you just can't satisfy them. Some people just want to watch the world burn. What can you do? So Bibiani's off with Ricky. Great. Robert joined the Lion's Den. Great. Make him go and do all those things. What you've done, though, is really motivate the Outlaw. All you've done is motivate Matt and I as Team Top 10. Motivate me as the Outlaw. All we want to do now is destroy you. And that's the way it works. Once you betray somebody and you leave him alive, then you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. So all I can tell you is I'm coming for all of you. And if you show up in the Ultimate Schmo-down tournament, it's going to start to happen here in a few weeks, I'm going to beat you. I'm studying harder than I've ever studied before. Like, I studied hard for the triple threat match, and unfortunately a couple things slipped my mind, and I wasn't 100% on top of this 80 stuff or Back to the Future stuff. That's all changing. I'm studying for the Inner Geekdom stuff. I'm studying. So as if I don't have enough going on in my life, I'm also studying for these movie trivia Schmo-downs because I want to win. I want to win. I want all the belts, all the records. I never said all the belts, all the records, all the time. If you notice, I never said all the time, at the same time, anything like that. I said all the belts, all the records. It doesn't mean I have to have them all at the same time. It just means I have to get them all. So at some point, I'm going to have all the belts. I'm going to have been a champion of every single division there is, including Star Wars, including Inner Geekdom. That's going to happen. So just mark it down in your calendar somehow, some way. I'm going to win those belts. Now, Ultimate Schmo-down tournament, I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. The match with Dan and Mark just really kind of brought me peace and made me feel like, yeah, I belong amongst the heavyweights of movie trivia. I'm no longer a fluke. I'm no longer some kind of like, lucky guy who won unlucky things. No, I've earned my status as one of the titans in the Movie Trivia Schmo-down tournament, the Movie Trivia Schmo-down League, rather. And I have no shame about that. And no one can take that away from me. So I'm ready to fight anyone, anytime. And I'm going to train like I've never trained before. I might even do some of these fan Schmo-down tournaments just to kind of, and underground without not being recorded. I might, I'm going to do all kinds of things that I've never done before to train for these matches and to get my knowledge back up again. So, and the top 10 show coming back is part of that process as well. So it all leads to one road, and that is to the championship, the road to a championship. And that's what I want. So, so anyway, good luck to those guys. You did what you had to do, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, but don't come crying to me when you keep losing once you leave and you join Ricky, who hasn't answered the trivia question right in like 5 years, and you lose if you go to the Lion's Den because there's too many of them now. So who are they going to focus on? Who are they going to support? Who are they going to really put their weight behind? We'll see. We'll see what happens with them. All right, so one last thing I want to talk about that's related to movie trivia stuff or the Schmoedown stuff is what happened last night on the Schmo's No Show, and I should address it now publicly, and maybe you guys can record this audio and send it to a certain somebody. Apparently, Brian Davids, it takes me way, way too seriously when I give him shit or when I talk about like messing with him or physically attacking him. He takes me way too seriously. I don't understand this at all. Like, he talks so much shit about the Outlaw. He talks so much shit about Matt Nost, and his shield, what he hides behind is, I'm just telling it like it is. I'm just telling it like it is. Well, great. You're telling it like it is, which is you giving each other shit, giving us shit, and you're doing it in a way that you gleefully do it. You're not doing it like, God, I hate to say this. You enjoy coming after the Outlaw. You enjoy coming after Matt Nost. So if you can't take it, don't open your mouth. That's just how it is. I give people shit all the time. I joke about threatening them physically. I like Josh McGregor. If you watch from the old interviews, I think I threatened about choking him in front of on the cameras. That's all playful banter of East Coast people. Like, you need to stop being so serious about shit, Brian. Like, seriously, I'm just joking. I'm being playful. It's busting balls. I haven't put my hands on someone since 1992. 1992. Why would I waste my time putting hands on somebody I've never even met? Like, come on. This is all playful banter. It's fun. I'm the Outlaw. Sometimes I turn the switch off and on. It's just playful stuff. Last night was playful stuff, and I looked in the camera. Everyone knew I was joking. Everyone knew I was joking. But you took me seriously. He blocked me on Twitter. I sent him a message to tell him that I'm just joking and not take it so seriously. I got so many great things going on in my life. Why the fuck would I risk physical assault or battery on somebody who's just talking stuff on a podcast that I don't know, maybe 2,000 or 3,000 people listen to, and then for a movie trivia Schmo-down tournament that isn't like real. It's just us answering questions about movie trivia. It's not like actual life, it's just us having fun. So I don't know. Some people just they have a gear where they take things way too seriously, and I am no longer taking responsibility for your inability to just relax and have fun with a situation. Most everyone else enjoys the Outlaw, knows that when I make the change. Even Evan the other day when I was on the Schmo's No Show a couple weeks ago when I was giving him shit, but Evan loved it. Why? Because Evan gets it. Brian, if you don't get it, get out of this business. If you don't get it, stop doing the show. It's just that simple. I am the Outlaw. I am a heel. I was a heel, and I do the things that I do. It's just playful stuff. So if you can't take it, don't talk any more shit about me or Matt. Just don't, because you can't take it back. That's just that simple. If you're going to talk shit and you can't take shit, then don't talk shit. That's a rule of life, man. So there you go. Like, I'm sorry you feel that I threatened you. He said you recorded audio of me threatening him last time. And through he said my military connections, quote unquote. It's just so, people create fantastical scenarios in their minds, and maybe they need to feel important, or they need to feel like they're part of something, or because they don't have much going on in their lives, and they want to glom onto us that are doing these things and are working hard and are in this business, and they're kind of like satellites around us. And so they want to feel a little bit more important about the situation. So they create scenarios where they're the focus. So here's the deal. I've said what I need to say about the subject. If you want to keep taking it seriously, that's your prerogative. I am never putting my hands on you. I am never physically attacking you. But if you keep talking stuff, I'm going to keep talking stuff about you. That's how it works, Brian. So, there it is. There's nothing else more to say about it. All right, let's move on. Speaking of blowhards. All right, so Trump. What? It's been a while since I've talked about political stuff. So let's figure this out. what kind of lunacy is going on now? His son must be one of the biggest idiots, one of the biggest morons ever. But he's like an 80s, like I thought Trump was the 80s villain, you know what I'm saying? But no, it's really his son. His son is Johnny from Karate Kid, Andrew McCarthy from Pretty in Pink, James Spader from Pretty in Pink. Like any of those old 80s villains with the collar turned up, with the polo collars turned up, and with their sleeves pulled up on their suits, driving those expensive cars, being massive dicks to everybody, the rich dicks. That's what Donald Trump Jr. is. He's a rich dick. He was shooting his mouth off on Twitter, making fun of the Democrats, making fun of people who had an issue, making fun of Hillary, making fun of people who had an issue with his dad. Like he was swaggering around, and then the New York Times found those emails. And oh boy, that motherfucker started crying like a little baby, didn't he? He released the emails ahead of time, supposedly for transparency, even though people have been asking him about these meetings since June, and he said nothing has happened. Nothing. He never met with anybody, never did with anybody, and those emails prove that he did. And he goes on Hannity, of course. He goes on Big Head Hannity with his haircut from 1974, going like, oh, well, I think maybe I would have done things differently. Yeah, do you think? Do you think, you moron? And there are rumors, if you read some of the articles that have been coming around, that they were thinking of sneaking him out of the country because they knew he was going to get called up by Mueller. He was going to have to testify, and the Trump people were super afraid. And of course, Gorka, their spokesperson went on CNN with Cooper. I don't know if you guys watched that video, but that's insane. He's like, of course, making fun of CNN, saying that they're corporate sponsors. Here's a guy who goes on Fox News and sucks their dick all the time, but here he goes on CNN and he's like, you guys and your corporate sponsors, and you're trying to get ratings. Yeah, because Fox News doesn't do that. Does it, Gorka? Does it, really? Why don't you take your Aussie accent, go back over there and say shit. Why don't you stay consistent? Stay consistent. You want to go after CNN and their quote-unquote corporate sponsors and partners and whatever that crap, you better say the same thing when you go on Fox News. Because they are basically a spokesperson for your agenda and the president's agenda, say president with quotation marks, agenda, you don't say anything. So that's the thing that's ridiculous about most of the people on the alt-right, is that they don't have any consistency in their thoughts. And the stuff that they're pulling, if Hillary was pulling any of this, if she was president, you all be losing your fucking minds. It would be like monkeys in a zoo going nuts, just throwing feces and killing everything in sight. Like that's what would happen if this was all happening on Hillary's side. So it's just colossally stupid. And now there's video that came out that Trump, they found this video from like 2014, I think, of Trump meeting with these people on video who he had said he had never met before or never talked to before, and he's having extensive conversations. Go watch this video. Like, it's just ridiculous all around. They colluded. I don't think there's any question anymore. I mean, some people, of course, were like, well, there's no there there. Well, Donald Trump Jr.'s emails are the there. So, and of course, they're going to downplay it and say he did anything that anybody else would have done, and all this kind of crap that is a complete and utter lie. And, that's the way it is. And it's unfortunate for me. Like, this isn't about being against Trump. This isn't about being against this. Like, if he was a decent Republican president, you kind of deal with it. He doesn't 100% support my ideology, but you got to deal with it, the will of the people and that kind of stuff. But this is ridiculous what he's doing. He's doing terrible shit to the office of the presidency, terrible shit to our status overseas. Look at those polls. We're at 11 to 14% of respect in other countries. That's ridiculous. Now, you may want to be an isolationist, but then you're not being a realist, because we import-export all the fucking time. Our country would fall apart if we didn't have global partners to fund and help us, and we help them. You can't be in isolation. This isn't the 1700s. All right, we're a global marketplace. We're a global economy. So you can't function like it's just the United States and everyone else can kiss our asses. That isn't how it works. Especially people who are working. People who have no idea how to even balance a checkbook, going to tell us about international politics or international global economies. What the fuck's wrong with you? Like, have some perspective, have some knowledge. Get out of your head, get out of your small thinking, and look at things in a global way, a more international way. That's the way the world is working. And no matter of stubborn sticking your heels in the ground is going to stop that from happening. The wheels of progress are always marching, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just adapt and improvise, and that's what's so ironic. There's so many conservative military people or alt-right military people, yet they don't understand the one thing about military you learn is you adapt and improvise. You don't stick your heels on the ground and be stubborn. You adapt and improvise. So it seems like some people are forgetting that while they're doing that. So, all right. So that's, I mean, I don't know what more I can get into with that, but other than to say, like, I think we're on the road to impeachment with him. I really do. I think they can't help themselves but keep like surrendering stuff, and stuff gets leaked all the time. And the reason stuff gets leaked, the reason this is the most leaky White House ever, is because there are people who with human decency in that White House that see what him and his cronies are doing, the lies they're telling, the bullshit they're spreading, and they want to leak stuff so that it gets exposed. Fox News did a whole thing about Comey and the memos and classified information and blah, blah. And you know what? It was all a fucking lie. And they gave a 5 to 10 second apology on air. Meanwhile, they spent like hours, totally trying to destroy Comey. And here they are, and they had to eat shit again. But you know what the difference is? The CNN, when they made their mistake, they fired people. Fox News doesn't do that. So if you want to crow to me about the Clinton News Network, which I think is a complete and utter horseshit, or the mainstream media, which I think is complete and utter bullshit, or what's the other stupid term they have for them? There's a new one that Gorka. What did he say? The mainstream media machine or something that he said. All of it is just fake news machine. All of it is just utter bullshit. Okay? It is a stupid term created to denigrate legitimate work by reporters finding out actual information about what's going on. The same people who are saying this shit now would have said this shit about Watergate, Iran-Contra, all that stuff that had been, fake news, bullshit. You're supposed to have a free press, and the free press explores stuff. Do they always get it right? No, but they get it right way more than they get it wrong. And there's no way the Trump people have any leg to stand on with the amount of shit that they get wrong and lie. You want to talk about fake news? Anything out of their mouths, it can be considered fake news because they lie and make mistakes about so many things all the time. So to turn around and say shit about a news organization because they're coming after you and rightfully finding stuff about you. I mean, there's a reason people are like, oh, there's no evidence. Well, then why did so many people step down? Why have so many people like not wanted to be interviewed for positions in the Donald Trump White House? Why have so many people been like recused themselves from the Russia stuff and then not with like Sessions? There's so much smoke here I can't see. And if you don't want to see the smoke, that's because you're willfully not wanting to see the smoke. And I don't understand the people like you because I don't get it. Are you Americans or are you Trumpites, whatever they want to call themselves, Trumpians? Because if you're Americans first, then the country matters. And if the country matters, then you can't have someone corrupt, ineffective, destroying our status in the world, in office. You can't. You just can't. Our country must survive. This is Nero fiddling while Rome burns. And you need to wake up to that fact. I don't have any judgment on you. I know, like I said, I know people voted for Trump for their reasons, their personal reasons. I respect that. And I absolutely respect the fact why you didn't want Hillary in office. I get it. Maybe so some people you just don't like. And I respect that. Hillary sometimes can be an unlikable person. I respect that. I personally would have voted. I did vote for her. I will say that 100%. I voted for her because I knew exactly what was going to happen with having a guy like Trump in the White House. And I have not been proven wrong. The man is a joke of a president. And it's ridiculous what he's doing. And to me, this is what it's all about. It's about, I served my country for 8 years in the military. I love my country to death. Give me death or give me liberty. I love this country. And to see what he's doing to this country, what his cronies, what his fat, angry, bitter, resentful, racist, arrogant pricks are doing to our country, it's insulting. And it could bring about the end of our country, and that's what scares me the most. Because if you study your history, and don't be stupid about this, if you study your history, you know empires fall. Rome was huge. Rome fell. Rome was more technologically advanced than everyone else around it, and Rome fell. So don't think we don't have the opportunity or the possibility of falling either as an empire. We have to be vigilant. And we can't be vigilant by being obstructionist, by being isolationist, by being walking backwards instead of being progressive. We're not going to survive. We're not. And I want us to survive because I love my country to pieces. And I love freedom. And I love the ability to speak my piece and, do a podcast like this and not get arrested. And I think in Trump's ultimate version, him and Bannon's ultimate version of the world is like, if you talk shit about me, you get put in jail or you get arrested or you get shot. The fact that they wanted to go after reporters, the fact that whole stupid gif of him clotheslining Vince McMahon with CNN's head over it, like all of that is just a small dick, weak, insecure motherfucker trying to feel like he's got balls and a real penis. Like, it's just ridiculous. That's not what real men do. Real men don't do shit like that. And you know that. You know that. Real men don't do shit like that. Weak-ass punks do shit like that. What did Jay-Z say? Wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight? That's what Trump is. Loud as a motorbike, but wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight. That's what Donald Trump is. That's what his people are. Because those pussies talk shit, and then when the time comes to, step up, they cower. They hide behind crap. He talked all that stuff about El Chapo. El Chapo said, I'm going to cut your head off. He goes, get the FBI and CIA after this guy. He's threatening my life. Yeah, exactly. Because you can't handle the words. You can't stand behind your words. You can't be a man and stand behind your words. So it's just, I'm just embarrassed for us and embarrassed for the country that guy is our president. It just breaks my heart on so many pieces. All right, enough of that stuff. Let's move on to something more positive. Did you guys watch the McGregor Mayweather press conference? Oh my God, that was nuts. If you haven't watched this, go watch this. You want to know who motivates the outlaw, who the outlaw fashions himself after? McGregor is one of those guys. Conor McGregor, man, no one, and I mean no one, does it better than Conor McGregor. If you can destroy Mayweather on a stage like he did during that press conference, brother, you are the best. He is an incredible shit talker, and he's one of the best, and I love watching him. And if you want to watch him in the press conference after the showdown with Mayweather on stage, watch Mayweather's father come into the press, and for 15 minutes, him and Conor just go at it, and it's fantastic. And Conor is totally in a great spirited mood of doing it and busting balls and having fun, and like I do, busting balls and having fun and joking around. And Mayweather Sr. is the one going crazy and getting all upset about it and getting all nuts and threatening to fight him, wanting to throw fists with him. This man's in his 50s and he thinks he can take out Conor McGregor. It's ridiculous. But it was so much fun to watch that kind of stuff. And if you watch the press conference, and McGregor had a moment where he called Mayweather boy, dance for me boy. I don't think he meant it in a racist way. I think Conor, that's how they say that in Ireland to people. Dance for me boy, dance. I don't think he meant it, but I think he realized that he had said that and that could be a derogatory term racially, and then he adjusted. To his credit, he adjusted. Now, they cut off his mic for 5 minutes. I think they probably wanted to make sure he didn't say anything untoward again or could be misconstrued again, but for the most part, he was hilariously perfect in his banter with Mayweather. And Mayweather brought it. Mayweather brought it too, but that IRS thing is hanging over him huge, and McGregor used it. And so here's my thoughts on it, because some people ask about it. Christian and I made a massive bet last night about it. I think McGregor is gonna win this thing. I know I'm crazy. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. I know I was crazy. Like the Cavaliers, I obviously thought the Cavaliers could give the Warriors a run for their money because of what had happened 2 years ago, and I was wrong, so I admit that. But I just got this weird feeling about McGregor. And, McGregor has surprised me on numerous occasions. That second match with Diaz was amazing. Him knocking out Aldo in 13 seconds, all that, or 10 seconds, whatever long it was. He has surprised me so many times when people thought he had no shot or was going to get destroyed. So why would I discount him now? And I get it. Mayweather's a professional boxer. Mayweather is been doing this a long time, blah, blah, blah. But Mayweather said it himself. He's not who he was when he was in his 20s. And Mayweather goes the distance, right? McGregor is all about destroying the defense. So this is going to be an interesting match. And McGregor is heavier, stronger than Mayweather. So his punches might carry more weight if he's able to break down the defense. And if he is, anything can happen at that point. And I guarantee you're going to see the worst of Mayweather if McGregor finds a way to shock him. You're going to see the worst of Mayweather because you're going to see him all of a sudden do headbutts or start biting his ear or do anything to get disqualified so he doesn't get his ass knocked out, because that is shame for him. I guarantee you. That's what's going to happen, And so we'll see. I mean, Mayweather may outpoint him and wear him out and go the distance and exhaust McGregor eventually. We shall see. But I think McGregor's going to come out. He's a smart guy. He knows how to fight, different tactics, whatever. So we'll see how he works, you know. And of course, Mayweather's already starting with like the glove ounces. For him, it matters how many ounces the gloves are, and if the gloves are made in Mexico or horsehair. So already he's starting his gamesmanship. But McGregor has been through this with way better fighters in terms of the MMA fighters and quality. And so for him, it's like, you know, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. You know, he'll do whatever it takes. He just wants to get in the ring and fight. And I love that about him. He talks all the mess, but he knows that talking all the mess is show. He knows the fight is the thing, just like the Outlaw. The Outlaw talks all the mess, but to me, and you could talk all the mess you want against the Outlaw, once you walk through that curtain and the game is on, the game is the game. And that's what it's all about, you know? So I think it's going to be an awesome fight. I don't think it's going to be a joke like everyone thinks it's going to be. I think it's going to be an awesome fight. It's going to surprise a lot of people. And when it happens, a lot of people said, "Oh, it's always fun to me." Like, "Oh no, there's no way, there's no way, there's no way." And how many times have we felt that way? And like the Horn fight against Pacquiao, there's no way, there's no way. And who wins? Horn wins. Yeah, should he have won? That's up for debate. But he won. That's all you can do. That's all you can do is like rely on the judges. And if the judges say you won, then you won. It doesn't matter what the public thinks. You still have the belt, and he does. So that's just how it works sometimes. All right, let's talk some NBA stuff. I'm just letting you. Well, actually, you know what? We're going to wait on the NBA stuff. I think we're going to talk the NBA stuff next week with Matt. We can find some time and record that, and that'll come out next week while I'm at Comic-Con. But yeah, we'll talk about that next week. Let's move on from that. Let's let everything settle. Summer League's going great. A lot of these young rookies are kicking ass in Summer League, so it's going to be fun to talk about it with Matt. All right, so this week, the premiere of Season 7 of Game of Thrones is on Sunday. And we have been doing a show on Collider called Thrones Talk. Ken Knapsack, Rachel Cushing, Dennis Zhang, me. And we are going to be coming to you every week, reviewing the episodes, reviewing the film. Reviewing the show, rather, and talking about the storylines and where it's going to take us and where it's going to go. So that's going to be a lot of fun. You guys got to tune in for that. I hope you've watched the last 2 episodes. We recapped Season 6. We look forward to what we think is going to happen in Season 7. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. I hope you guys can join us because, you know, Rachel and Ken are book readers, and Rachel is a massive book reader. You know, you heard her on the podcast a couple of weeks ago talking about her love of Game of Thrones and how in-depth her fandom is. And so it just seemed logical to bring her on to the show, and I'm glad it worked out. And it's going to be so much fun having her on the show and having the banter with her. It's going to be great, and I can't wait for us to put that in motion even more so now with episodes, because then we're going to get, you know, storylines. We're going to get stuff going on with the characters and everything like that. What do you all think is going to happen? Like, what do you all think is going to go down? Let me know on Twitter. Let me know on the YouTube comments below the show. Like, let me know what you think is going to happen in this season. Like, who you feel is going to go do, and are all the wolves going to survive, or all the characters going to survive? Who's going to be sitting on the Iron Throne by the time the season ends? Will anybody be sitting on the Iron Throne by the time the season ends? And what's going to happen with the White Walkers? What's going to happen with all that stuff that's going to happen? Or the Walkers? What's all going to happen with that stuff, with Whites and all that shit? Like, what's going to happen? We're all super excited to come back and do the show and talk about these episodes and talk about the season. So it'll be a blast. So join us for that. Please join us for that, because it's really important. All right. So one of the things I wanted to say to you guys, I put it out there. Like, I wanted to talk with you all more, interact with you all more, and I wanted to make a segment called Fan Questions. But I'm gonna come up with a cooler name than that, right? Like something like that to call the segment. But I posted on the Movie Trivia Schmo-down page, Facebook page, and I posted on the Schmoedown Facebook page about wanting to get questions from you guys. So I chose some of your questions just randomly, and I'm going to answer them now. Some of them may be, I think 1 or 2 are spoiler things. So I will say spoiler warning, and then I will tell you, like, you know, a couple minutes or whatever, and then you can move on from there. So let's get to it. All right. Brian Fernandez. And I'm starting off with this one because I think it's really important. He said, I've been dealing with depression and anxiety the last few months and had thoughts of suicide. I've been talking to a lot of people to help out, and it has been going well, but it still comes back around like a tick. Wanted to know how you overcome these things. Love your podcasts. Keep up the amazing work you do. All right, so I've gotten a number of, and you guys have been amazing. A lot of you started, like when I said last week that I wanted to hear from you guys if you haven't sent anything. So many people sent stuff, and thank you. I read all of them. And I really appreciated you all talking to me about what's going on in your lives. You know, you talk about your marriage situations. You talk about the goals that you're trying to achieve. You talk about your depression, your anxiety. You talk about your mother getting cancer. You talk about your sisters dealing with their depression. So I listened and read all of them. And I really appreciated you guys sending me this stuff because I'd like to be interactive with you all. You guys are my fans. You guys are the ones listening. So to me, it matters to hear what's going on in your world because you're willing to listen to what's going on in my world. So, all right. So, Brian, let's talk about this. So you asked me how I overcome these things when they come. And they do. Like a week or two ago, there were 2 days where it got bad for me. You know, you never get rid of it. You never get rid of it. Once you break the seal on the bottle, you can never close the bottle up the way it was before. And that's what depression is like. Like once you break the seal and understand you have depression, once depression really comes for you, you can never close the bottle up in the same way. So it will always come for you. It's not going to come for you at the frequency that it did before if you do the work, if you find the things that make you happy, if you can figure out what the thought processes are. Because depression becomes a thought that leads to another thought, leads to another thought, and then there you go back in the pit. My friend Michael, I think I'm saying her name right, Michael, she's a writer in New York. She's on Twitter. She's certified. She posted about her depression the other day, and I sent out a direct message to her to kind of let her know, like, I'm thinking about you, sending you thoughts. And I asked her what happened, and she said, a couple things, a couple thoughts just kind of connected, and all of a sudden I was down in the pit. And that's how it can be. For me, that happened a week and a half ago, like I said, for a couple of days, a couple of thoughts connected, and I went down into the pit. And it's not an easy place to be, but what I realize now is you just have to get through it. And what that is you just have to understand this is happening to me now. I'm not judging myself that this is happening to me now. I'm going to let the feelings go through me, and then I'm going to let the feelings come out. The worst thing you can do is be afraid of the feelings, because what you do is when the feelings come and then you get afraid, then you throw in anxiety. And if you throw in anxiety, then you judgmental of yourself, and pressure and nerves, and all that stuff can combine to really overwhelm you. So when the depression feelings come, do what you need to do for yourself, which is maybe you need to remove yourself from around people, and you need to kind of sit and watch one of your favorite movies, listen to a podcast, or listen to music, or play your favorite video game. But let the feelings come. Understand that the feelings of depression are this devil voice that is in your head telling you. I don't mean hell and Satan. I just mean it's a demon type. It's a devilish voice in your head telling you you're not worth it. You're terrible. You should end it. Blah, blah, blah. These are all terrible things that go in your head, and the voices that go in your head. And if you can find a way to understand that what they're saying to you is not real, is fabricated, is made up, then you can almost like find your way out of it by just understanding that that's happening and removing the weight of it. You remove the anxiety, you remove the nerves, you remove the pressure by just saying, okay, this is happening now. I'm going to let it happen. I'm not going to be afraid, and I'm going to be out of it because I've climbed out of it numerous times. So if you're listening to this and you've experienced this, you know that you've climbed out of it. So if you climbed out of it before, have faith that you will climb out of it again. This is just a condition that those of us who have it, we deal with it. And those of you who don't, God love you, man. God love you, all of you who don't ever deal with depression or ever have to, fight these feelings off or these thoughts off, because it can be debilitating. It can be so overwhelming. Sorry. So this is what I would say to you. If you have a favorite book, if you meditate, like I always say, meditate. Meditate's really huge. For me, the chanting with Buddhism has really been powerful to let go of those feelings, because other people chant for you and you can feel it. I mean, at least I can. I'm an empath, and I can sense positive energy when it comes towards my way from other people. I can just sense it in the wind or in my vibrations. And that's amazing to me. And so that's what I say to you. Like, chant, meditate, do yoga, do things that make you happy. And I know you're saying to yourself, I just want to sit here and feel terrible about myself and wallow in it. If that's your decision to sit and wallow in it, then wallow in it, but don't judge it. Wallow in it, but don't beat yourself up. Wallow in it, but don't sit there and add anxiety and nerves and judgment of yourself. And especially don't be around people who are telling you to just snap out of it, get over it, or just do something. No, Don't be around people like that because they don't understand it because they've never been in it. What you have to do is just kind of like understand this is happening, do the tactics you need to do to kind of slowly get yourself out of it, or just let it happen. Don't judge yourself, and then let the waves eventually die down, because that's what happens. The waves come for you big, and then eventually the waves die down. You know, and like I said, it could be as simple as making yourself dinner and having a nice dinner that you made yourself. It could be as simple as watching something on television or listening to music or listening to an audiobook or taking a walk, taking a hike, or being around. And you may be the kind of person that needs to be around people when you're depressed. Then again, call up your friends and be like, hey, can we do something tonight? I'm not in a great place. I'd love to be around people just to make myself feel happy. And I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, if your friends really love you, they'll make the time. And if they have the time, obviously, they'll make the time. You know, and if they can't, don't get down on yourself, because that's people have their lives to live. It's not judgment that you're not worthy. It's more a matter of like they've got a lot of stuff going on, and sometimes they can't be there for you at the spur of the moment. But most people can. Just you got to give them a chance. So that's what I would say. You know, whatever's going on, and especially to the gentleman who wrote to me about his mom having cancer. Hey, I get it. I get it. Stay strong. Believe in what you're doing with is right, and you know, guide your mother through this. Let her talk about whatever's happening for her. These are the mistakes that some people make, is that when people get cancer, people get these diseases that are life-threatening. Whenever people talk about fear of death or doubts or wanting to die, people sometimes can overreact to this and be like, don't talk about it. That means you're quitting, and you're not a quitter. Don't quit. You got to blah, blah, blah. You have no idea what it is like to face a life-threatening illness. If you have never done it, you have no idea. So if you're going to be around people and you're going to care for people who are experiencing this, their mortality in the most extreme way possible, then you've got to create space to let them talk about whatever feelings are going on in their minds and their bodies. It doesn't mean they're going to act on those feelings. But if you can let them talk about it and then guide them back to a more positive place, then you've done your job as a caretaker. Because caretaker isn't just changing the dressings or, you know, cleaning out the bedpan or whatever you've got to do. It's also taking care of the person inside and their emotional journey that they're going through confronting this. Because not everyone goes, I'm just going to snap out of it. This isn't the fucking movies. In real life, some people it takes time to process what's happening to them. You know, with my dad, when he was going through the really hard stuff near the end, you know, he would talk about suicide and, you know, ending it. And not only suicide, like I've talked about it, you know, it's different, desperation and depression. My dad was never about that. But my dad, with the cancer, he wanted to end it because of the pain, the physical pain was so overwhelming, was so much to deal with day in and day out, minute to minute, second to second, to deal with that kind of pain. So I heard him out. You know, I let him talk about it. And I said to him, I said, Dad, I totally respect how you feel. I get it. I don't know what you're experiencing because I'm not physically experiencing it with you. I don't know the level to which you're experiencing it. And you're one of the toughest men I ever knew in my life. And to see you consider this as an option because the pain is so bad, you know, really moves me. And I just want to let you know that I get it. I totally get it. I know where you're coming from. But I also know that you're a deeply religious person. And you know that suicide is against the tenets of the religion that you've devoted your life to. And if you do this, I think you are going to regret it in the afterlife. And you might not feel when it's happening that you've done the right thing. And so I think this is the last lesson you have to leave your kids, is that to fight through this, to find your way out of this, to die naturally, to pass naturally at the end, to pass naturally and die from the cancer taking you rather than you making the cancer take you. And there's a difference there, because you die with a bit of nobility in your way of thinking. I don't judge anybody who has a life-threatening illness and does what's assisted suicide. That's your decision. It's your life. You choose to do it as you wish. I am not judging you. My father, the way he believed, it would have been against his beliefs to do it. And so my job was to listen to him, to hear what he had to say, to show him compassion for his feelings and understanding, and then guide him back to understanding that if he did this, it would be against who he was as a person and what he stood for. And I said to him, and it also, if you do this, if you, kind of let this happen naturally, you'll also leave a good legacy for your children, that this is how life is. You have to kind of fight to the end, and then when it's over naturally, and that's how I felt about it. That you had to leave. It was his last battle, and maybe this was his last battle that God was giving him to go through to I don't know, just to get through it, and I don't know what I want to say. I just felt like it was the last battle they had to go through to kind of get to sit at the right hand of God. That's kind of how I feel about it. That's how I talked to him about it, and it really brought him a lot of peace. So that's what I say to you. You just listen to the people, be compassionate to them, and then guide them back using their own viewpoints of the world, their own existence in the world, how they've existed, their life mottos, their life credos. Use that to bring them back to a good place in themselves. So that's my advice on that. All right. So Michael Shea, next question. Let's move on. Next question. Michael Shea says, "What's the one film you've yet to do on the Cinephiles that you're anticipating the most?" I can't say one. It has to be two, and that is Citizen Kane, because Steve and I are massive Orson Welles fans, and so Citizen Kane is like one of our favorite movies. It's my favorite movie. I don't know if it's Steve's favorite movie. I know it's up there. It might be his favorite movie, but it might be in the top three favorite movies, and that is the one I'm anticipating us doing the most. And I hope to God we can do it. And I really want to get Peter Bogdanovich to come on the show. It's probably the most impossible get in the world, but I would love to get Peter Bogdanovich to come on and talk with us about Citizen Kane, because he wrote that interview book with Orson Welles. He's a big fan of Orson Welles, and if we can get Peter Bogdanovich to be on the show, that'd be so amazing. So if anybody out there knows Peter Bogdanovich or has a connection with Peter Bogdanovich, I'd love for you to speak for us for the Cinephiles, because we'd love to have him on to talk Citizen Kane. And the other movie is The Godfather. I think that Steve and I have both been building up to The Godfather for quite some time. And, we kind of wanted to find our feet a bit more, kind of wanted to be in the situation where we'd be positive about the show, that we were ready to tackle these movies. And I think we're there. I personally believe we're there. So I think those things are going to be coming soon. Oh, and Seven Samurai. I think that's the third one, Seven Samurai. I think Steve and I have also been building up to that one, and we just did an episode of Yojimbo, and so that should be coming out soon. But definitely, we definitely want to do these three films. David Wright asks, please list some movies you really want. Oh, we just did on the Cinephiles. Okay, never mind. Evan DeGraff. Oh, hey, Evan, what's going on, little man? How do you know to turn the Outlaw on and off? Like, what goes through your mind there? For example, the phone call we had on the Schmoedown show. Okay, so here's the deal. I've said this before. For me, the Outlaw comes out when he's ready, when he's triggered, and when he's motivated, and when it seems like a funny situation to bring the Outlaw for, and all this stuff. And so, to me, that's what I'm doing. And so what can I say? That's the situation with that, and that's how I do it. Like it just seems it's just a natural thing for me, I created the character with Christian, and I created him emotionally and all these kinds of things, and gave him some life, and I'm an actor, so for me I'm an actor, right? So when the moment comes to turn the Outlaw on, I turn him on and have fun and bust balls and and do these monologues and go after stuff. And so for me it's just a lot of fun to do that, and it's a great situation to put forward. And so I enjoy doing it. And so when it happens, and I like doing it with people who understand that I'm doing it, and that's the thing. And like, Evan, you get it. You saw what I was doing, and I was making fun of you, your balls dropping. That's all just playful banter. And I'm doing it with a smile on my face. So to me, I don't know why some people take it seriously, Once again, Brian, I'm sorry you felt that I was actually physically, threatening you physically. That's so ridiculous. I would never do that. It was just playful banter. It's just playful banter, so that's the situation there. So that's it. It's motivated by the situation, and it's motivated and by me feeling comfortable with the person that I'm going to do it with, and that's how I turn the Outlaw on and off. It's just a matter of is it the right situation? Does it feel organically like the right situation? And also, do I feel this person understands that when I do it, they understand that that's what I'm doing? And so, Evan, you got it. And unfortunately, Brian Davids didn't get it last night on the Schmoedown show. And again, I'm sorry if he's offended by it or hurt by it. That I certainly I had no intention of attacking Brian physically. So I hate that I have to keep mentioning it. All right, Mark Ellis asks me to rank the all-time best Redskins linebackers in order. This is a great question. I mean, who do we want to talk about? Monty Coleman? I loved Monty Coleman. He was such a fantastic. I loved Wilbur Marshall. Those guys were the best. I love those guys so much, and especially Wilbur. I mean, Wilbur was just my guy. He always was my guy, and so for me, this was such a huge question for Mark to ask, because Wilbur is kind of, and I know Wilbur wasn't on there like 1,000% or wasn't there for years and years and years, but he was my guy. Monty was awesome. Monty was in the the 80s and the 90s. That guy was an Iron Man. You know, he played from 1979 to 1994. That's a huge thing. Neil Olkowitz. I loved Olkowitz all through the 80s. He was my guy, dude. He was such a strong linebacker. He was always in the right place at the right time. Sorry, and he even won the defensive MVP. He started 137 games and played in 150 games. So it's just amazing. And London Fletcher was fantastic. London, man, when London hit you, your ancestors felt that stuff. He was fantastic. So I know he played for the Rams, but like he also came and played for us, and he was incredible for us, for a while, for a few years, Those are the guys. Those are the four guys that I always think about when I think about Redskins linebackers. Those are the guys that I grew up with. Those are the guys I remember watching. I don't know if there's anybody recently, other than London, that's been just as amazing as he was. I mean, LeVar Arrington was cool. He knocked out Aikman. I enjoyed him. He was fantastic as well. I have no qualms about including him on the best linebackers list. I mean, knocking out a Cowboy quarterback, you kind of get a little bit of credit there. Sam Huff, of course. If you're talking about legends, that's a legendary linebacker, Sam Huff. So he's a great commentator when he was doing with Sonny Jurgensen when they were doing the Redskins games for such a long time. So that's what I would say. That's my list of best Redskins. There you go, Mark Ellis. There you go, baby carrots. All right, Arturo Garcia Pimentel says, "What's your favorite Spanish-speaking movie? I would love to know if you have one, and maybe one day you can talk about it on the Cinephiles." Well, listen, my favorite one is also the most difficult one for me to watch, and that's El Norte. If you've never seen El Norte, that's one of the most powerfully difficult films to get through. For me, being the son of immigrants, it's an incredibly difficult film. It's a beautiful film. And it's one that will mess you up in so many ways if you've never seen it. And if you go back and watch it, it leaves even more of a legacy inside your soul. And it is for an 80s film, I was so impressed with the things that Gregory Nava covered, and he's the director of the film. He also was one of the writers on the film. He did Selena, he did Frida. So, he's got a lot of credits to his name in the Latin American community. But he also did Why Do Fools Fall in Love? So, he's got a lot of interesting choices as a director. But in that movie, it's just incredibly powerful movie. And if you haven't seen it, I think it's a Criterion Collection film. So if I were you, I would really kind of strap in if you're going to see this for a very powerful, moving film. Yeah, all right. So some Willie Logie asked me about the McGregor Mayweather fight. All right, I talked about that. He asked whether it's a joke or not. I don't think it's a joke. I think this is a great way for these guys to make money, and that's what they want to do. Jason Inman says, "Tell us your favorite Doctor and your thoughts on the ending of Doctor Who season 10. I need to know." All right, here's what I say, Jason, and this is a spoiler situation, guys. My favorite Doctor, because it's the Doctor I became a fan of Doctor Who with, is Capaldi. And I've been told by many people who are fans of Doctor Who that you never forget your first Doctor. Capaldi was my first Doctor. He will always be my first Doctor. And so for me, that's my favorite. What can I tell you? And I loved the season ending of 10. Now, look, I know Matt Smith and David Tennant. They have their hardcore supporters. Tom Baker. Tom Baker's a legend, man. Tom Baker's legend. But I really loved the first Doctor ever, black and white. That cantankerous old-ass Doctor who was messing with everybody, I loved him. And so Capaldi, I thought, was the first one to really go back all the way to the beginning and encapsulate that Doctor. So I enjoyed him very much as the Doctor. And I know people love Eccleston, and there are other Doctors in the history that people really enjoy and love. I've gone to the Doctor Who convention the last 3 years in a row now, and I've seen people dress up in cosplay as the Doctors, and I love it. I love it because it teaches me more about it, because I'm not some Doctor Who fanatic. Like, I came into it with Capaldi. I've enjoyed my friends Mike Fox, my friends Mark Sloan, and Jason Inman too. Have suggested episodes for me to watch, and I've watched those episodes and thoroughly enjoyed those episodes. It's ironic because my favorite episode ever is Vincent and the Doctor, which is the Matt Smith episode. Or a Matt Smith episode. So that is ironic. The Matt Smith's not my favorite Doctor, but Capaldi, there's something I just enjoy about Capaldi as the Doctor, and especially this season, they really let him explore his vulnerability more, in combination with his knowledge and enjoyment of these missions, and so I really love that about him. And I love the ending. I really enjoyed the ending of this season. I thought the season had a couple of like weird episodes in the second half that weren't quite to the level of the first half of a season of episodes, but that ending was amazing and heartbreaking and devastating. The stuff with Bill, my God, all of it was just so powerful. And to see Capaldi's journey as the Doctor in this whole season, especially in that episode with the Master, with Missy, with the Master coming back from before, which was so awesome. All of that was just incredibly moving and powerful. And I thought they kicked ass. And I thought that was the best season finale, maybe the best season finale of all the Capaldi seasons. I mean, I love that one. I think it's the finale, that one where he has to go through the ice for 2 billion years to save his companion. I thought that was awesome too, But I think this is the one that I really love the most. Adam Cooney, if you could erase a movie from existence that people won't shut up about, what movie would that be? Look, I want to say to any of you who are going to stop listening to this podcast or are going to unsubscribe after I make this answer, that it's been nice knowing you. I really appreciated you supporting the Outlaw Nation podcast and supporting the Outlaw. And thank you for your service. But the movie is The Goonies. I just wish people would shut the fuck up about that movie. I've watched that movie twice, and I don't get why people love that movie. I just do not get it. I will never get it. So that's the one I could erase from existence that people won't shut up about. All right. Jordan Hallerman, have you seen Baby Driver yet? If so, what were your thoughts? I loved it. I really did. And I thought the first 20 minutes, I'm like, oh, this is trying to be cute for cute's sake. And then it really kicked into gear when Jamie Foxx showed up and John Hamm came in. And so, I mean, John Hamm was at the beginning, obviously, with Bernthal and all that, but when John Hamm came back, that with Elisa Gonzalez, that was just a great combination of characters, and I really thought the movie went to another level, because it's a simple movie in that it's about a young guy and a girl trying to get out of a situation and run away together, right? And that happens all the time. You see that there's so many movies about that in bad situations, some done for jokes, some not done for jokes. Like Badlands isn't done for jokes, but some other movies like this are done to kind of like, they're kind of romantic movies in a way, like the idea of running off with someone that you just met because you guys just feel like you're meant for each other and that kind of thing. And so Baby Driver was great. And I thought Ansel was great. I thought Lily was fantastic as well. And so to me, all of it really worked. And it's one I'm going to go back and see a second time and probably a third time, really. It's just such a fun time in the theater with those characters and those actors. And Edgar Wright, I just love his American movies just a bit more than his British films. I love Scott Pilgrim vs. the World as well. So I'm just a fan of him doing more and more American stuff. Aaron Jensen asks, I have another question. I know this is premature, but would you entertain the idea of having Tim Franco from Late to the Party as a horseman if he shows he can hold his own like he did in his debut? That is, if it is cool with him. I can see him giving Burnett a whooping in the Schmo-down. Well, here's the deal. Tim Franco beat Matt Atchity. You beat Matt Atchity. You've got some knowledge. So Tim is great. And Tim and Ashley, I enjoy those two very much. I've become friends with them and enjoy their banter because they get me. They understand when I'm doing the Outlaw, when I'm not doing the. They don't take me seriously. They know it's playful and fun and all that kind of stuff. And so they get it. And they're about to get married. So I want to send them huge congratulations before they get married. Have a beautiful life together, you guys. And so Tim, absolutely. If Tim lived here, then it would be more possible to consider Tim as a horseman. But Tim lives in Arizona. So, it's enough to get Merle or JTE to the studio because they work at Screen Junkies and they're constantly busy. Getting someone from Arizona to come to the studio. I mean, Stuckman's only come, once to do the Schmo-down from Pennsylvania? So, like, there are, or Ohio, wherever he's at. I think it's Pennsylvania. But there, when people live out of town, it's really tough because the Schmo-down schedule is constant. It's every week almost. So if Tim lived here, then sure, I would consider him a horse. I would consider him for the Horseman. Why not? He showed he could hang, and Tim would get it. And I think Tim would lean into, if we went heel or face, Tim would lean into it either way. So, yeah, absolutely. I'm a massive fan of Tim Franco. Let's see. Robbie Haskell, why is diversity in movies important? What effects does it have in our society? What movies have used diversity the best in the past? I think diversity in movies is important only because, and here's the deal, like, I want to clarify this again. I don't think you should cast someone just to cast someone because they're black or they're Latino or whatever. But I also think you don't have to cast your entire cast white. There's a way to do it that you have the balance, and the balance that seems effective. Look in your workplace. Look in your school life. You see a bunch of minorities all around you. Your workplace is an ethnically diverse place, unless you work at Duke. Joke. But it's an ethnically diverse place. So you see Latinos, you see blacks, you see Asian people. So to me, it's like, what are we talking about? Why is this such a big deal? Diversity is important because it actually reflects what's happening in the society, and those people in society go to the movies. I've said this before, 30 to 40% of repeat business, go find that NPR report, I think it's from 2014, are Latinos and Hispanics. 30 to 40%. That's a market that you need to understand and cater to and figure out that they deserve their representation. We deserve our representation on screen. Look at Rogue One. Seamless representation. Works, totally effective. Did you think he was Latino the whole time? No, you just bought him as Cassian, and that's what you went with. And that's how it works. So to me, it's important because it lets people feel a part of the entertainment process. It lets people feel part of society a bit more. Look at sports. It's diverse. It's all there. So why wouldn't your movies be diverse? I just think it's important to get representation. That's what it is. Some of the best ones, La Bamba, I think was fantastic for being more about, the Hispanic stuff. But I think Sidney Poitier movies have a lot of, were fantastic in breaking the wall down in having diversity. Those are fantastic films. Look at Ocean's 11. There's Asian guy, black guy, there's, some white guys. And Garcia's in it. He's not part of the Ocean's 11, but he's in these films. So, there's representation. It can be done. That's very effective. And so I think it's important because you reflect the society that you're in. All right, James Carter, who do you fear the most in the Schmo-down? And I won't take nobody as an answer. Fine, James. If you don't want to take nobody as an answer, which is my legitimate answer now, especially having survived the triple threat and having been one question away from winning the title back, I guess The Godfather. McWeenie, because nothing seems to faze him. And he has a wealth of knowledge. And he has holes, but The Godfather scares me. I'm not going to lie. So that would be your answer. No one else really scares me, But there are people who are, how would I say this correctly? It's not that I fear them. It's that I don't know how I do against them because I don't know their depth of knowledge. I think Clark Wolf is one of those people. Clark Wolf is an X factor to me all the time because sometimes when she shows up, she's really focused and dialed in and she wins, as you saw her against Ellis, but other times she can get frazzled. So you don't know which Clark Wolf you're going to get when you walk into an arena with her. So the X factor of Clark Wolf is unsettling. And so she'd be a great match. I think we'd have a great match. And I don't know who'd win, to be honest with you. I don't know who'd win. So that would be an awesome, awesome thing. All right, so those are your questions. I'm going to try to answer more. I think next week we're going to do a massive Q&A, and I'll pick like 25 questions. That'll be the questions I try to answer for that podcast. So, listen, I appreciate you all listening. This is a little bit of a longer one than I anticipated, but thanks so much for constantly supporting the Outlaw Nation podcast, constantly supporting me as the Outlaw and John Rocha. It means a lot, and getting your messages and getting your words of encouragement and support. Everything. And thanks for everybody who's supporting the Cinephiles, and especially our Patreon. Man, please go to cinephiles.com/Patreon. Donate. Help us keep the Cinephiles going. Help us keep the Cinephiles going because it's really important for us to do it and support us and doing it all together. So I just really appreciate everybody doing that. And please, the Top 10 show, we're coming back on Tuesday. Subscribe to the SK Plus podcast channel. Give us all the love you can give us. We want to come and out the gate huge. And, you all have been talking how much you want the show back. Well, the show is back officially. So support us. Tell your friends about us. Tweet it out on your social medias. Do everything you can to support the show and get the show out there and get as many listeners and ears and eyes on the show, so that we can be even stronger, coming back even stronger. The sequel better than we want to be Godfather Part 2. We don't want to be Caddyshack 2. So please come back and support the show really powerfully, or Fletch Lives, for God's sake. So there you go. So thanks everybody again for listening. Please follow me on at the Rocha Says, ROCHA, on Twitter and on Instagram. It's really important for you all to kind of support me in that process and get me to certain numbers, because it means more exposure, which means I'll be on more stuff. So if you like hearing my thoughts on things, it leads to me getting more and more exposure on other shows. And that's what I want to do, when you guys have been so amazing in supporting me all through this whole process. So thanks. So like I said, the Cinephiles, Cine-Files on Twitter. on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. Also, Movie Talk every Fridays at 10 a.m. And the Top 10 Show, like we said, on Tuesdays on the SK Plus podcast channel. And there are a couple more things coming down the pike that I'll be able to talk about when the time is right. So thanks again, everybody. Have an awesome week. I've said all the positive things I can say, I think, throughout this podcast. But here's the one thing that you always got to remember, like I say at the end here. No matter what, you matter. You exist for a reason. And your existence matters. That's what it is. Your existence matters. Remember that. But also make sure that you are letting people in your life know that their existence matters. It isn't all about you. It isn't all about you. Remember that. There is a gift in being of service to other people. So if you have friends in your life who are struggling, you have people in your life who are struggling, be there for them like you want them to be there for you. That matters. Okay? All right. We'll talk to y'all next week on the Outlaw Nation podcast. Take care.